It's a place many have tried to discover. And most don't even believe exists. But one man knows it's real.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the center of the Earth.
Do you remember the movie Journey to the Center of the Earth from 2008? It was the story of people that found a secret passageway that led to another world inside of the Earth. It sounds like a crazy theory that Earth is really hollow, and that maybe there are things, even people, living inside the Earth. As bizarre as that sounds, the uncomfortable truth is that we really don't know for sure what is in the center of the Earth. Not that we haven't tried to find out. The deepest man-made hole on Earth is the Kola Superdeep Borehole, started by the Soviets in 1970. This hole is 40,230 feet deep, which is over 12 kilometers or about 7.5 miles down. It took them almost 20 years to drill down that far, but even at that depth, it was only about 1/3 of the way through the Earth's crust, which is 25 miles thick. Beneath the crust is the mantle, which is 1,800 miles deep, and beyond that, right at the center of the Earth, is the core. Work on the Kola borehole was stopped in 1992 because the temperature in the hole exceeded 108 degrees centigrade or 356 degrees Fahrenheit, which was twice what was expected. It may explain why some locals swear that the hole is deep enough that you can hear the screams of souls tortured in hell. The U.S. had previously tried to do a deep drill in 1961. The U.S. team decided to take a shortcut through the Pacific Ocean floor off of Guadalupe, Mexico. The Earth's crust is thinner under the ocean floor, which was seen as an advantage, but unfortunately the depth of the ocean created its own problems. The technologies for deep-sea drilling had not been invented yet, and eventually Congress canceled the funding. In 1990, the German Continental Deep Drilling Program, or KTB, began in Bavaria and eventually drilled down to 5.6 miles or 9 kilometers. Uli Harms, a scientist that worked on the project, said that the plan was to drill deeper than the Soviets, but they were not able to go deeper than about 10 kilometers, which is about 6.2 miles, because the temperature got much hotter than even the Russians experienced. Dutch artist Lotte Gieven lowered her microphone that was protected by a thermal shield down the German borehole, and it picked up a deep rumbling sound that scientists couldn't explain. According to Gieven, the rumbling sound made her feel very small. Quote, "It was the first time in my life this big ball we live on came to life, and it sounds haunting. Some people thought it did sound like hell. Others thought they could hear the planet breathe." Now the Japanese are going to give it a try. Maybe the Japanese project will succeed where the others could not. So many have tried and failed to get more precise data on what exactly lies below the Earth's crust. But that doesn't mean the Earth is hollow, right? Famed scientist Edmund Halley may have been the first person to suggest that the Earth was hollow. This was Edmund Halley, as in Halley's Comet. His theory in the 1600s was that the Earth is a group of nested spheres, rotating in different directions and all surrounding a central core. Each of these spheres would have its own atmosphere, meaning that it was possible they would support life. Fast forward 200 years, and there was Cleves Sims, a war veteran who wrote a pamphlet in 1818 stating the Earth was hollow. Sims' version was similar to Halley's, except that it added the theory of 2 large holes at each of the Earth's poles. These holes became known as Sims holes, and he became famous for promoting a trip to the North Pole to prove the theory. He even convinced President John Quincy Adams that his theory was valid and worthy of exploration. Sims was never able to fund an expedition, but continued to lecture and promote the theory until his death in 1849. One of the modern-day proponents of the hollow earth theory was Dr. Raymond Bernard. Bernard received his doctorate in education from New York University. He wrote books on many topics, including nutrition and food safety, but his final book, The Hollow Earth, was his most famous work. Bernard's theory was that the Earth is a shell with walls about 800 miles thick, and at the North and South poles there were holes 1,400 miles across, with edges that curve smoothly from the outside of the shell around to the inside. Anyone going over the edge of these holes would not fall, but instead continue traveling to the interior of the Earth. Dr. Bernard was also certain that Admiral Bird discovered these holes when he made his famous flight to the North Pole. To prove his claim, Dr. Bernard used a famous quote from Admiral Bird, who said, quote, "I'd like to see that land beyond the pole. That area beyond the pole is the great unknown." The book also included the story that during his journey to the North Pole, Bird claimed to have been greeted by a flying machine from a city in the Earth's interior known as Agartha. He also met the Master, who was the city's leader, who told him of his concerns about the surface world. This is what he told Bird. "Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time that we sent our flying machines, the Flugelrads, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity. But now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed." When he returned, Admiral Bird apparently claimed, like many before him, that the North and South Pole are actually two of many openings to the center. His theory is that both poles of the Earth are actually convex rather than concave. This means that ships and planes would be able to fly or float right in. After his expeditions, the American press announced Admiral Bird's discovery to the world. After the release, it was immediately suppressed by the government, and Bird was made out to be a man known to make false claims. His story was quite popular, though, and published in National Geographic. In his book, Bernard also explains why the polar holes are not seen from the air. He said that it was because pilots are fooled by their compasses into believing that they are crossing the pole when they are actually following the hole's magnetic rim. This means airplanes really never fly over the exact location of the poles, which naturally mark the centers of the holes themselves. Interestingly, Dr. Bernard didn't promote his work concerning the hollow earth theory, and in a foreword to the book, the publisher stated, quote, "I will not enter into any correspondence regarding this book or the author. Whether you accept or reject the content of this book is your privilege. No one cares." End quote. Bernard died of pneumonia on September 10, 1965, while searching for the tunnel openings to the interior of the Earth in South America. So that was a brief history of the hollow earth theory and some of the most notable people that pushed the theory forward. Now let's talk about why scientists say that the world is definitely not hollow. We have to start by acknowledging that all scientific knowledge of the Earth's interior is based on scientific inference and theory rather than direct observation. That is because the core of the Earth is less accessible to direct probes than the surface of outer planets, including Pluto. Not only do we not have the technology to get to the core of the Earth, it's not at all clear how it will ever be possible. There are two basic reasons that the Earth cannot be hollow, according to scientists. First, the behavior of seismic waves made by earthquakes. Geologists use seismometers to measure shear waves caused by earthquakes. Once shear waves hit the outer core of the Earth, the wave disappears, and once it hits the inner core, it reappears. This shearing force cannot travel through liquids because liquids do not resist shear waves. Shear waves do travel through solids, however. Therefore, since we see shear waves disappear at the outer core and reappear at the inner core, geologists hypothesize that the outer core is liquid and the inner core is solid. The second reason that implies the Earth is not hollow is the existence of Earth's magnetic field. The Earth has a magnetic field that reaches above our atmosphere. This magnetic field protects the Earth from much of the radiation produced by the Sun and is also responsible for natural phenomena such as the aurora borealis. For this magnetic field to exist, scientists say that either a permanent magnet must be in the Earth's interior or ionized molecules are moving in a liquid medium in the Earth's interior. Scientists say that permanently magnetized solids cannot exist in the Earth's interior due to the high temperatures. Therefore, the magnetic field is thought to be produced by ionized iron moving about in the Earth's liquid outer core. So what do you believe? Are the scientists right about the interior of the Earth? Is the hollow Earth theory just a ridiculous idea like Bigfoot or flying saucers? Or is the truth being hidden from us and there really is another world deep in the Earth, perhaps inhabited by an alien species? I guess we'll never know for sure until someone can finally drill deep enough to find out. Until then, you'll just have to decide for yourself.